about Sufism and Vedanta and approaches for sustainable art. I am a water resources engineer working on the sustainability of the world and water management. So this presentation obviously has three very loaded terms: Sufism, sustainability, and Vedanta. With all these loaded terms, let me share with you how I connect to all three. So my connection to all three, essentially, sustainability is my profession. I have a PhD in water resource engineering, and I have just finished writing the California Future Water Management Plan for Sustainable Water Management as a consultant for the next 10 to 20 years of California water management. And also I'm involved with the new law that was passed in California called Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. This is the pocket book that I'm a principal author of to help locals manage groundwater sustainably. And Sufism is my passion. So I give lectures on Sufism. Vedanta is my fascination. So I'm connected to all the three loaded terms that I talked to you about. So this is my lecture on Sufism at the Vedanta Society in Sacramento. So, another loaded question may come up here: what has religion got to do with the environment? People would wonder, Well, in the absence of the sacred, uncaring consumption of the natural resources was made possible because we forgot our connection to the natural world. And I want to share with you a Disney song from the movie Pocahontas that talks about how we are connected to the nature.
You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name.
So you can see the destruction of the art was made possible because we lost the connection with the sacred. So can religion help the environment? That's a big question. Obviously it can, because people act according to their beliefs. So we have beliefs. Beliefs generate values. Values leads to our attitudes, and then attitudes modifies our behavior. If people don't believe in your processes of regulations of climate change or regulations of water management or on your tools, we face the problem of non-compliance in reality. People will not follow the rules. So we end up with a two-legged stool. So we have a process and tools. Risk management is not possible because you have the other missing leg, which is the people. So in that regard, religion has the strongest influence in modifying the personal conduct. The environmental crisis requires radical changes not only in the public policy, but also in our individual behavior. And history teaches us that religious teaching, example, and leadership are powerful forces that can influence personal conduct and commitment. So having said that, what are the biggest barriers to sustainability? Sustainability of the earth. We see institutional barriers. We have created institutions that are extracting institutions, that are destroying the environment. So we have to change our mindset in building the right institution in social entrepreneurship. Political will to change and incur the cost of safeguarding the environment. Cultural or belief systems, different people believe in the relationship to the environment differently. Technical, definitely as engineers, I know there are technical difficulties of sustainable water management. When you talk about economical, the economical cost, we have to incur this cost in order to save our environment. So we have to believe in one art, one destiny, and today we're talking about also one God in this argument of religions. So all of us have one destiny. If we cannot save the earth, we're all going to end up in trouble. So now, talking about all these loaded terms, I haven't forgotten about Sufism and Vedanta. So let me share with you a quick run, because I can talk about each of these topics for an hour. And I'll give you a very short summary of what is Sufism. Sufism is an elephant in the dark. All of you remember this story where a few blind men went to see an elephant in the dark. So when they come out, everybody has a different perception of the elephant. Those who touch the trunk, they say it's a spear. Those who touch the ear, it's a fan. Some who touch the body in the dark. Remember, they're all blind men. They thought it's a wall. Somebody thought it's a snake. Somebody thought it's a tree. And those who touch the tail thought it's a rope. It's a famous story that we have all listened. So Sufism also, if you ask the different person, you get different answers, and that's okay because it's multiplicity of ideas. So to some, Sufism is a part of Islamic mysticism. Some people even think Sufism is the corruption of Islam. There are conservatives who think that way. Other things, it's an universal mysticism unrelated to Islam. It's an universal mysticism. Some people think it's a path to the union of God. Other things, it's an exercise of purification of heart. And few other things, realizing divinity in every creation. And all these ideas are correct. Not that one is wrong or other is right. Now let's look at the Vedanta. Similarly, we are looking at a blind man in a dark as an elephant. So these are the concepts of Vedanta. It's a part of Hindu mysticism. It's a pure soul, or Atma is one with God. It sees your soul and your God are the same. Brahma, or the Absolute, alone is real. It thinks only God is real, everything else is an illusion. And then some say, in the Rig Veda it says, truth is one, sage calls it by various names. Again, the important thing is that all creation is divine. That's the message both in Sufism and in Vedanta. So, what does sustainability mean? The third loaded term I talked to you about. It basically a definition by the United Nations that development which meets the needs of the present, because we need to grow in our usage of the world, the natural world, and without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. You don't want to destroy the earth and leave nothing for the future generations. So that is the sustainable behavior we need to manage this earth. So, question becomes, why should I care about sustainability? My life is not going to see the impact of the distraction I'm making. Well, let's look at some of the facts. Earth is crying and sending us signals through recent 1,000-year flood that you have seen in South Carolina, huge flood, disastrous winter storms that you have seen in the United States in the last couple of years, if you remember 2013, extreme drought in California where I'm from, and catastrophic typhoons in Asia. These are the call of the nature that you're not treating me well. So with these signals, let me share with you a couple of things that are very alarming. Atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations are at a record high, greater than 400 ppm. What happens if you go to that level? We are at 400 ppm right now. We need to go below 350 ppm because otherwise, if we continue our behavior the same manner, our carbon dioxide concentration will rise to 450 ppm and the Earth's surface temperature will rise by 2 degrees centigrade, which will cause havoc in the system of the Earth ecosystem. It will melt the glaciers, it will have a lot of trouble if we cannot manage at that level of climate change. Because this is what is really happening. We are seeing high temperature, high carbon dioxide. We need to take care of that. Now, by 2025, if we continue our practice, 2/3 of the world will live in water scarcity. Water is part of our life. We cannot afford not to solve these problems. We dump 19.4 billion pounds or 8.8 million tons of plastic into the ocean every year. By 2025, it can reach 342 billion pounds, the way we are behaving unless we change our worldview and our behavior. 18 million acres of forest land are being lost every year because of deforestation effect that we human beings are creating in the earth. Arctic sea extent is declining at a rate of 13.3% per decade. Glaciers are melting, and we take care of the Earth. So, why should we care about sustainability? Because today's hot problems are all connected. See, we see war and terrorism in the world. War causes destruction of the Earth's surface by bombing. We are seeing ecological disasters that we see happening every day. And we see the corporate greed of development and our helplessness. How to, because of these military machines are creating weapons, creating wars, and all those things that are happening that you heard last night. That we've got to do something to stop this kind of behavior. So, one other thing I want to share with you, why war occurs. The famous novel, an English novel, one of the top novels called The Megas. In there, the character says, I'll tell you what war is. War is a psychosis caused by an inability to see relationships. Our relationship with our fellow man, our relationship with our economic and historical situation. We don't see the relationship, that's why the war happens. Now, why the planet Earth is crying that I showed you a minute ago? Because we failed to see relationships among humans, other living things, and nature. We cannot just look at this worldview, think about we are the only people, only thing that is necessary for the Earth. We need to look at the other living things as well as the ecocentric view. But we lost relationship there. Now, why there is so much environmental injustice? Because of the rich and the poor country divide. If you look at that, globally 1.2 billion people live in areas with inadequate water supply. And you may wonder, this is a problem in Africa or some other countries in the third world. It is not so. Let me share with you. I'm from California. More than 1 million Californians don't have reliable access to clean water. Okay? That's why in 2012, we passed a law, our governor signed a law called Human Right to Water Bill in California. That was passed a couple of years ago only, because those human rights are not recognized. There are no law to make sure that everybody has adequate access to water. So it's not a problem for the third world or anyone else. So essential reason for having this environmental injustice is because we failed to see relationships among the fellow humans, rich and poor. So it is a question of us versus them. We're here at the World Parliament of Religions. We talked about all religions. We have seen that any religions, if you look at the externalities and also look at the partial view of the religion, you get into orthodoxy. But if you look at the internal view of the religions, you get the essence of the religion. With that, if you look at the orthodoxy, you end up with this clash of civilization theory promoted by the Harvard professor Samuel Huntington. Because he divides the civilization into religious faith line. But we cannot afford that. So I come up with a theory in my book called God's Facebook, friendship of civilization, because we cannot afford the clash of civilizations. So with that kind of mindset, I want to share with you that we are all connected, whether we are white or copper-skinned. And again, I'm going to go back to a song from Disney's movie, Pocahontas.
We are all connected to each other in a circle, in a loop that never ends. Our is the whole road. If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the crying blue or blue. But when we are white or copper-skinned, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind.
So you can see we need to change our mindset. We need to see the relationships. So this thing happened, as I mentioned to you, because we lost connection to our fellow men and women. We get into wars. We go to ecological disaster because we have lost connection to the earth. And we have lost connection to our soul. That causes greed, corporate greed, and our situation of helplessness. Sufism and Vedanta are the two ways to strengthen those connections, with the philosophical underpinnings of two religions, Islam and Hinduism. Obviously, in other religions, there are equivalent ideas. I'm not going to talk about those, but I'll share those ideas with you briefly. So, sustainability. What does sustainability really mean? If you look at the old literature, technical engineering literature of sustainability, they basically talk about sustainability of society, sustainability of environment, and sustainability of economics. They basically talk about a triple bottom line idea of sustainability. What I want to change or propose that we have to look at a new view of sustainability and bring in another dimension of the sustainability, where sustainability is not only limited to the society, environment, economics, but also connected to cultures and civilizations. Because cultures and civilizations give us our fundamental ethical backing. If we don't bring the equation into that thing, we cannot be sustainable. So this is my new proposal of these things. Now, let's resort to our favorite poet, Shakespeare. He says, if you have good reasons, master of fools, give place to the better reasons. This is my better reasons theory, that we need to think about a society where personal aggrandizement, we have to move from there to the common goal of all of us. In terms of environment, we have to move from uncontrolled development to responsible and sustainable actions. In economics, we have to create from wealth creation to social responsibility. And in religion, we have to get away from exclusivist thinking that my religion is right to a friendship of civilization, so that we can all work together to create sustainable art. That's the fundamental premise that I want to build here for. Now, sustainability is not just a scientific and political challenge. It's also a moral imperative. Taking care of the creation, defending poor and threatened communities and future generations, so that everybody has access to water and health. And new lifestyle. We have to cut down our consumerism lifestyle. Essentially, taking care of creation is a gratitude to God, because everything that we see in this world is a gift from Him. And then we need to talk about justice, that we all heard about. And we need to talk about spirituality. We need to come to think about, get away from consumerism to spiritual thinking. Now, Sufism, I want to explain a little bit more about Sufism. How does Sufism help? Sufism is an Islamic mystic concept. It originated as the quest for the third missing leg of Islam. Islam had these submission principles and a faith, iman principle they call it. But a third missing leg of Islam is called ihsan, meaning doing good. That's a very critical element of Islam that is often forgotten in this current worldview. With that thing, I'm going to share with you a couple of Quranic music or recitations to give a feel for spirituality in here. So Sufism is based on the integrated ideals of Islam. It basically talks about it has to be Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. So who can be better in religion than one who submits the whole self to Allah, God, does good, and follows the way of Abraham the true in faith? So you need to have submission, you have the faith, but you have to do good. That is the theory that who could be better in religion? You need to have all three. That means that is the perfection of your religion. That's a kind of Sufist principle. With that thing, Sufism is the best expression of Islam in my mind. It moves us from orthodoxy to the essence, because in orthodoxy, you just have submission. You don't have even a deep faith. You don't have doing good principle. So if you go migrate to a deeper faith in God, then you could migrate to a full circle of Islam where you do all three components of Islam in terms of ihsan, meaning doing good for the nature to your fellow being. So this is the fundamental Muslim. In here, they stay here. Tree of violence grows here. If you become a Sufi Muslim, you grow a tree of love. And that's the word part of the religions. We need to do this kind of changing mindset to help not only ourselves, but also the earth. So Sufism basically is focused on doing good, helps us connect. Remember I talked to you about this connection that we lost? It helps us connect with fellow beings, connects with the earth, and connects with our soul, so that we are respectful to other human beings. Now, doing good to people, what is the Sufi behavioral model in the Sufi philosophy? It's called an earth-centric view. So, in generosity and helping others, you need to remember, how does the river treat you? River is very generous to us. It gives us water without asking for anything else. In compassion and grace, be like the sun. In concealing others' faults, be like the night. In anger and fury, be like a dam. In modesty and humility, be like the earth. And in tolerance, be like the sea that washes away all the sins and disagreements. So you need to have this Sufi philosophy of earth-centric view. Earth-centric view. Now with that in mind, let me share with you some of the Sufis. Where do they get this service to the earth view? They get it from the Quran. Quran it says, eat and drink, but waste not by excess. For Allah loveth not the wasters. If you remember the philosophy, you will think about wasting food, creating waste. That's a big problem for earth. Seven heavens and the earth, and all beings therein declare His glory. There is not a thing that celebrates His faith. That means every living thing, remember this song? Every living thing has a life, has a spirit. Same thing echoed in Quran. And the great Sufi poet Rumi talks about, Yar, earth, water, and fire are God's servants. To us they seem lifeless, but to God living. If we think in that mindset, we can treat our art differently. So let me go back to the Vedanta Hindu philosophy. It's also a potent force to build friendship of civilization so we can take care of the earth. In the Rig Veda, earliest text about 4,000 years ago, written, says, truth is one, sages call it variously. Now, you remember the first World Parliament of Religions in 1893 in Chicago. There came a famous person from India named Swami Vivekananda. He gave a lecture, and he was titled Sacred Monk from India. So in this thing, I think he's in the corner somewhere sitting in the first, it's a picture of the first World Parliament of Religions. What he said in his lecture, the first opening lecture, he said, quoted from a Sanskrit hymn, that the different streams having their sources in different places, all mingle, their water in the sea. So all over, the different paths which men take, though different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee, on God. 1893, he made this statement in his speech. And that is Vedanta philosophy that he's citing from. Then Vedanta seeks peace among all creatures. In the Vedas, it says, let there be peace in the heavens, the earth, the atmosphere, the water, the earth, the vegetation, among the divine beings, and in Brahma, meaning the absolute reality, that everything be at peace and in peace. Only then you will find peace. You cannot have peace only among human beings. If you are not at peace with all other creatures, all other living beings in the earth, and non-living things, the ecosystem, you are not going to have that peace on the earth because of environmental injustice. A lot of violence happens because of environmental injustice, social injustice. So injustice can go away if we can bring these Vedas are about 4,000 years old scriptures coming from the Vedanta philosophy of Hinduism. Now, Rig Veda, again a 4,000 old scripture, gives a vision for a sustainable art. You won't believe, 4,000 years ago, this is a vision. May the winds blow sweetly, may the rivers flow sweetly, may plants and herbs be sweet to us, may night and morning be sweet to us, may the dust of the earth be sweet to us, air pollution. May the heavens be sweet to us, may the trees be sweet to us, may the sun shine on sweetly, no ozone layer, no carbon dioxide layer, methacount industry. It's a vision of a sustainable earth in Vedanta philosophy many thousand years. So, the overlapping consensus between the Sufism and Vedanta is essentially Swami Vivekananda again from 1893. He said, the gist of all worship in all religion is to be pure and to be good to others. That's connected to Sufism. Sufism came from the word Safa, which means pure, and Ihsan meaning to good to others. Remember the principles of Islam I talked to you about? These are all connected, the overlapping consensus between these two philosophies. And seeing God in every creation. Now, Sufism and Vedanta provides new ethical perspective for sustainability. You see, this is the old view of anthropocentrism. Consider the effects of environmental actions on humans. We're going to get it out. Biocentrism, consider the effects of environmental actions only on living things. We're going to get it out. What we need to do is ecocentrism. Consider the effects of environmental actions on all components of our environment, both living and non-living. That's why we need to move, and this philosophy will help us understand how do you move. Now, so let me give you an example of a paradigm shift in our reporting. That typically what do you do? When you see a report in the newspaper, what do you see? They say in 2013, a total of about 26,000 human lives are lost from 308 natural disasters. Economic loss was about 140 billion. This is a news clip you'll see in a newspaper or on TV. What is missing? Missing part is that how many animal species and plants are lost and damaged by these disasters. We don't track them. Not only that, what is the impact of human behavior on Earth and other species? We don't track them. So we are forgetting one part of our system. We need to change our mindset. So, now I talked about two philosophies, Sufism and Vedanta, but obviously there are other religions, they have also equivalent mystical philosophy, like in Jainism they have moksha, Hinduism, of course, Vedanta, yoga, and bhakti, Buddhism, Jain, Judaism, Kabbalah, Christianity, Gnosticism, Quakerism, and Islam and Sufism. So we need to look at the wellspring of spirituality in any religion and go to there. But just love for the earth, is it enough? Well, let me go back to a great philosopher of the 20th century, Bertrand Russell. Obviously, he's an atheist, so talking about him, but he's one of the greatest philosophers of the 20th century. He said, a good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge. Neither love without knowledge, nor knowledge without love can produce a good life. You need to have both in there. Just loving the earth is not going to do you any good. In an early Sufi text from the 8th century, called Shanaraj, 13th century actually, Najmus Saquib said, love and knowledge are the two wings of a Sufi. So, let me ask you a question. How many of you know these facts? Cutting back a shower time 2 minutes can save 10 gallons of water. Just 2 minutes. Turning off while brushing your teeth can save 2.5 gallons of water. Cool? Put on a sweater and turn the heat down. Americans could save more than 21 million gallons of oil each day just by turning down the heat a few degrees in your home. Winter is coming, right? 500,000 trees could be saved each year if every family in the US recycled the newspaper. So knowledge of these kind of things, we often forget that. We keep our faucet on when we're brushing the teeth. We take long showers. We can save a lot of water. So you need to have this knowledge. There are many other facts. So I don't want to just talk about platitudes. I think we need to move into action. We just cannot talk about great ideas of sustainability, Sufism, Vedanta. What can I do? What can you do? What can we do? Talk to your family members and encourage them to save water every day by changing behavior. Start it today. Go back home and look up in your water agency website. I'm sure they have a lot of water consumption tips. Try to implement few, not all of them. Obviously, you cannot do that. Just do few, it adds up. We are millions of people together. encourage your faith leaders to include care for creation ethic in their sermon. How often have you gone to a church or a mosque where the imam or the priest talks about ecology or environmental? They just talk about afterlife. How do you go heaven? How do you avoid health? Convince them at least put 5 minutes of their sermon on the importance of the earth, care for creation. It's an easy job, you can do that. Just talk to them and provide them material to help them out. Find a local environmental cause and build a friendship with your neighboring faith communities in support of that cause, so that we can do interfaith work to an environmental cause, because it's one earth, one destiny for all of us, regardless of our religion. Work with your local government. You know, local government, when they do a project, they have to do an EIR, public outreach, called Environmental Impact Report. Everywhere it happens, you probably don't get notes at home, throw it away. But try to work with them and tell your public servants to talk to the faith communities, because if your imam or if your priest tells you, hey, doing this thing is God-ordained order, you will do it much better than a secular public agency telling you, cut down your water supply or water use. Okay? You need to leverage. It's not one or the other, it's both, in my mind. Then come up with your own ideas. Think about your own ideas. I cannot give you all the ideas. I don't have that many. We all need to work together, but if we believe in this philosophy, we need to come up with all these new ideas. You know. So with that, I want to share with you, let us begin painting our world with the colors of the wind.
You can own the earth and still all you own is earth until you can live with all the colors of the wind.
So we can begin painting the colors of the wind. This is the end of my presentation. I appreciate it. The clash of civilization and go into friendship of civilization. So I'll be talking about that. What are the principles of? Because if we don't create friendship, we are going to get into clash because of environmental injustice, or social injustice, and a lot of other things. I think I have some questions here.
What time and what room?
Tomorrow, I did write it.
Thank you. I should read.
It's the top. Monday, 12:15 and room 250C.
Thank you.
I'll be talking about friendship civilizations and how do you create these kind of things. You know. This is not, that will not be an environmental talk. That will be more about friendship civilization theory and how do they work together. So if you're interested, come and join me. Again, I want to thank you all for patience. Any questions for me?
I did, but it was related to one of the slides. I have to look it up because she had some very interesting ideas.
Come and talk to me. I'm here. You know, any other questions anybody has?
Can you give a brief history of Sufism?
Pardon?
Sufi history, when it started, and Sufi.
Oh, I see. Sufism started, you know, I mean, there are many theories. Like Sufism is essentially started, people say, with Prophet. But it became very popular in the 13th century with the poet Rumi, Khayyam, Sanai. In the Persian civilization in the 12th to 13th century, the golden period, lots of poetry written by at that time. It became very, but the Sufis started, Sufism, even in the Prophet's time, this philosophy of Sufism about this, what do you call this, Ihsan principle. The Iman and, you know, Islam and Ihsan. That principle was there from the beginning. Because there's a famous story, just take 1 minute, I'll tell you a story. Prophet Muhammad was sitting one day with his companions. A stranger came and sat next to him and asked him 3 questions. So first question was, what is Islam? So Prophet Muhammad said, Islam is to submit to God and, you know, follow the rules of God. You know, you submit to God and follow the rules of the rituals, 5 times prayer and all those things. Then the stranger asked, what is Iman? The Prophet said Iman is believing in God, His angels, His books, and there are 6, Muslim principles of Iman. So he listed all those things. And his companions are wondering, what is this stranger, arrogant stranger, asking the Prophet? Like he is taking a quiz of the Prophet of Islam. Then the third question the stranger asked, what is ihsan? Then the Prophet explained, it is the doing good. You have to do good to all human beings and all to living and non-living things. And then the stranger left. His companion asked, Prophet, who is this person who is asking this question? Prophet said, there is the angel Jibreel. He came to teach you your religion through a questioning method. So that's the story, that how the Sufism kind of started from there. And the Sufism culminated in a big movement in 13th century with all these great poets, Rumi, Hafiz, Khayyam, Sanai. And then Sufism also helped spread the Islam throughout the India, through the Khaja Muinuddin Chishti and Nizamuddin Awliya. They basically spread the Islam to the service principle of Islam. I hope I have answered your question briefly.
Who was the angel that came? I just wondering.
Gabriel.
Okay.
Gabriel.
Okay.
Okay, I found the slide and it was related to what you just ended. You have doing good to people and then you show 6 pictures and it said in generosity and helping others be like a river. So is there a writing?
There's a Rumi. Rumi saying about
That's
that.
all from Rumi.
All come from Rumi. Yeah. Rumi basically saying, he explained, he has written great books. And Rumi, as you know, was listed as the most popular poet in America in 2002. And he's a great popular poet still. So let me go to the slide quickly, if I can. This is from Rumi. These are the things, right? So this is from Rumi. Rumi basically said, this is what the Sufism is about, that you have to change your behavior. It's a character ethic. It's not about the theory. You have to change yourself. If you can't do these practices, think about it. What a transformation happened to you if you can follow these principles. A lot of war happens because anger and fury. This.
The Imam who spoke yesterday said that in his understanding, Sufism was the heart of Islam, without the do's and don'ts, without the rules. And he said initially Sufism was a belief without a name, and he said now it's a name without a belief.
Definitely it is the heart of Islam. Yeah. That's a famous quote also. Anybody have any other questions?
It was excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.